I've used the Zoom H2 audio recorder for about 10 years now, and it's done me proud. It's recorded countless gigs and rehearsals, and it's also been used for the commentary on quite a few YouTube videos. But mechanically it's had problems. The SD card cover didn't last for more than about 6 months. But lately, the last 3 or 4 years, I've had to tape the back of the recorder to keep the battery cover in place. But the biggest problem occurred when it had a bit of an accident 3 or 4 years ago, when it fell over at a gig and got damaged. It was damaged on the bottom where it connects to the microphone holder. I managed to repair that with some hot melt glue, but ultimately that didn't last, and I broke it for good a few weeks ago. So now I've got a new recorder, and I decided to go for the same make, but the updated version of the H2, which is the H2n. And you can imagine my surprise when I found out that it seemed to be affected by radio frequency interference from cell phones. So I did this test to compare the new and the old, and you can see what happened. So I've got the two recorders set up side by side outside on quite a windy day, so there's probably some wind noise. Both are set to the maximum gain, and they're both set on MP3 recording at 192 kilobits per second. So let's get some radio interference on. So I'm calling myself on two different phones. Let's just try putting the smartphone close to these recorders. Test 1, 2, 3. Seems to be working. Now we'll put the cheaper phone, which I think will probably working on a lower frequency. Hello, I'll test 1, 2, 3. I can see the light flickering on this one when I do that. I don't know about this one. So, I'm calling myself on two different phones. Let's just try putting the smartphone close to these recorders. Test 1, 2, 3. Seems to be working. Now we'll put the cheaper phone, which I think will probably working on a lower frequency. Hello, test 1, 2, 3. See the light flickering on this one when I do that. I don't know about this one. Okay, we've now got the two audio recorders set up with same condition, 192 kilobits per second MP3 recording, maximum gain, and this time they're set with wind shields on to cut down some of the wind noise. I'm going to see how far away the interference from the cell phone is effective. So I'll call the cell phone again. Okay, so I got the low frequency, low cost cell phone, and I just confirmed that it's still causing problems, and now we'll move away behind it. That's about 600 millimeters away. That's about 900 millimeters. And that's 1.5 meters away. So around to the side, that's about 400 millimeters to the front, and again about 400 millimeters on this side. There we are. Okay, so I got the low frequency, low cost cell phone, and I just confirmed that it's still causing problems, and now we'll move away behind it. That's about 600 millimeters away. That's about 900 millimeters. And that's 1.5 meters away. So around to the side, that's about 400 millimeters to the front, and again about 400 millimeters on this side. There we are. That's about 600 millimeters away. That's about 900 millimeters. And that's 1.5 meters away. That's about 600 millimeters away. That's about 900 millimeters. And that's 1.5 meters away. Well, I think you'll agree those results are quite interesting. Firstly, you'll notice that the flip phone seemed to give much more of a problem compared to the smartphone. I think that's a false result. The smartphone is on a 4G network. It has a good signal in this area, and therefore its transmitter will be transmitting at low power. Whereas the flip phone is on a 2G network. It hardly works at all in the house, and that's why I did the test outdoors actually. And so its transmitter will be operating at full power, and I think that's why it caused so much interference. However, the last test that I showed did indicate that the new H2n was more susceptible to RF interference compared to the old model. And since Zoom do actually advertise the Zoom H2n as suitable for people like journalists carrying out interviews, They're the very people that are likely to have mobile phones in their pockets, and they perhaps need to realise that the Zoom H2 has to be kept at least probably 500 millimeters away from an active mobile phone.